This is Network 126, probably one of the most randomest channels you'll ever stumble across on YouTube. I'm back, everybody. I know it's been forever since I've done a video in the car. A lot of things have changed since the last time I've done a video, period. You know, one of me actually talking. As you guys can see, I'm not in either of my old cars from any of my previous videos. I'm actually sitting in a 2015 Hyundai, which is a great, amazing car, especially compared to my old cars. So basically what happened, without making this video too long, is basically everything started becoming too much for me, just all at once. What happened is initially when my mom passed and I got that job at the last minute and my first paycheck started coming in and I was able to catch up with everything and save the apartment at the last second, I pretty much lived paycheck to paycheck from then on at that point. But it was great because even though I was only making $10 an hour, they were giving us bonuses from time to time of like $200 to $300 every few months or so. And it was great and it was cool, and the job was local, only about 10 minutes away. But basically what happened is the company moved all the way down to Orange County, which is about 35 miles away or so. And so basically what we would do as coworkers is we would all meet up at one house, a designated point, and a couple of us would take turns, those of us who had better cars, because I knew that my car wouldn't hold up for a long time doing that. But I would pitch in my share for gas, and so that's how I kind of pulled my weight with that. And so anyway, I did that for a while, and I continued working with the company. But what happened is, as in life, sometimes you hit a bump in the road. That saying? Well, in my case, it wasn't just a bump in the road. It was sort of a road just full of fucking rocks. And it just totally derailed my whole train, my whole everything. I was pretty much one slip up away from disaster because I wasn't making a whole lot to begin with. And even though I was living very minimally and busting my ass at that warehouse full time, it would have only just taken like one or two things to just totally knock me off course and mess me all up. Without going into too much detail, and because didn't want to make this video too long and get too deep into my personal life, but I just hit a bunch of things all at once. So what ended up happening is I ended up having to come back and stay with my family for a bit, just until I get back up on my feet. And I continued working the same job at the warehouse, even though it was kind of far. But the problem is because I moved away from my coworkers, I wasn't able to participate in the carpool anymore with them, so I started having to drive my own car. But even though it was a bit closer than where I was living originally in Pomona, I was still putting a lot of wear and tear on my car. And it wasn't a new car that my mom had left me. It was a 22-year-old station wagon. Well, at the time it was a 20-year-old station wagon. But so basically over time, all that extra driving and all that wear and tear on the car, it started to actually show. The car started having a lot more problems more and more frequently, to the point where even at work, I was having to pop the hood and work on it before I could go home. Sometimes it got so bad that it was just kind of embarrassing. And the car was really starting to get unsafe too, because I don't know if you've seen like in NASCAR or those Formula One videos where the car is driving and then like it hits something or whatever, or has a mechanical failure, and the wheel just like breaks off the car and it just starts like rolling off to the side on its own. No joke, like literally, you guys, my car was seriously at risk of having that happen to it. Like, no joke. The bearings on the axle were in such shitty condition that it was literally like in danger because of all the friction and all the heat, because of the condition that the bearings were in. I mean, you could like literally, like if you would turn the wheel, you could like see the bearings inside because the bearing boot was split all the way around. And so you could actually see inside where all the bearings are, exposed everything on the road, dirt, gravel, water, whatever. So the car had gotten to a point where you would be making a turn, and as you're making that turn, the car would be going like, that's just how bad those bearings were. I'm laughing about it now, you guys, but at the time, it was kind of scary because you never know. I mean, I literally had a mechanic tell me that I could drive off the parking lot and have a wheel fall off. So it wasn't only my car that was starting to get tired of it all. I was starting to get tired of it all, because without getting too into detail and too in depth and everything, But, and I'm sure as with every job, there's drama, there's work politics, there's this and there's that, there's he said, there's she said. And, there was some of that. And then it started getting to a point where I was like, I'm really starting to get tired of this shit. But for the most part, my boss would try to keep things, positive and uppity. But there was still, even with that, without, like I said, without getting too into it, I was just starting to get tired of everything. And plus, I've got flat feet. And, I toughed it out for almost 2 years that I was working at that company. I'm not trying to sound like a whiny, complainy crybaby right now or anything. I did continue working there, and I was just grateful to have that job, especially in the economy the way it's been. And compared to all my previous experiences of trying to find work, at least I had finally found somewhere that had given me a chance and that I'd actually been able to work at consistently full time for so long. But basically, I couldn't do it anymore, especially when I kept hearing more and more about this Uber thing, this phenomenon that's been growing within society and becoming such a huge thing now. I'm even starting to see TV commercials about it now. My boss himself actually has a brother and a son who started doing Uber actually and Lyft, and they've actually been convincing him, or at least trying to anyway, basically telling him, what the fuck are you doing, busting your ass in that warehouse and trying to meet tight deadlines and getting hurt on the machine and this and that, when you can just be behind the wheel of a car and making pretty good money while you're at it. And I don't know, he just decided that what he does, he loves what he does and that he doesn't want to leave it. But then I also have this other cousin of mine who started doing Uber and who actually got talked into it when he was working in a warehouse. And one of his coworkers started doing it and started talking to him. And at first he was skeptical. And once he started seeing how much this guy was making, and he ended up leaving the company, then my cousin ended up trying it, and he ended up leaving that company too. And he was just ranting and raving to me, telling me just, how great it is to be your own boss and to be able to get out there and just, explore and see new things and meet new people and make your own schedule, and you can get paid every day if you want to. The point is, it's all up to you. You decide. You have so much control with this job. It's not like a conventional job. You can decide, okay, I'm gonna get up at 2 o'clock in the morning today and I'm gonna put in 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 hours in one shift right now. I can say, okay, I'm gonna go out at 10 o'clock in the morning and I'm gonna drive 2 or 3 hours, and then I'm gonna go and take 2 hours to eat something, and then I'm gonna drive for another hour or two, and then I'm gonna come home. I can do that, and it's perfectly fine, and no one's gonna yell at me, and it's just great. People have even told me that I look happier, since I've started doing this. There's a brake pad for my old car, by the way. I just wanted to show that to you guys real quick so you'd see how thin that was. I mean, you go to step on the brakes and your foot would literally almost go down to the floor before the car would start stopping, basically. You see, Uber partners with Hertz and Enterprise. They're linked up directly through their computer systems, and so when you go to rent a car under the Uber program, and they can look up your Uber account real quick and verify that you're, approved to drive, and they will submit all the vehicle documents, all the inspection reports, the registration, the proof of insurance, all that stuff. And that's another thing that's provided through the Uber program, is the special rideshare insurance that's required. So basically they set it all up for you, so you just go and pick up the car and everything's done for you, and you just slap the stickers on your windshield and you go and start Ubering, basically. I don't know if that's a word. I guess that's going to start becoming a word in society pretty soon. So anyway, what I did is I rented this car. Now you could either go through Hertz or Enterprise, or Uber has their own program. I believe it's called Exchange Leasing. But the problem with Uber's program is that they lock you into a 3-year lease, and it's kind of expensive, and I just didn't want to get locked into something so long term, especially if I was just trying to start, trying Uber out initially. So what I did is I went through Hertz, which was a little bit cheaper. And the thing about Hertz and Enterprise is they go per week. And so if you're just trying to start out and, kind of get your feet wet and see what it's all about, to see if it's for you, you could rent a car just for the week and just go out and start driving. So I rented my first car, and by the way, you can rent a car up to 28 days at a time because they have regular maintenance intervals, and so every certain amount of miles they have to go in and get oil changes and whatever else they get checked, all the usual stuff. So one of the cool things right off the bat about this job is that you get to experience driving all these different kind of cars. I don't know if you're into that kind of thing, but I think it's pretty cool. I'm a guy, I'm into cars, and driving an old station wagon for so long got kind of old and tiring. Everything I did with the car, every turn that I made, it would make some kind of noise. It was a real eye-opener, actually. It really showed me just how bad my old car was because I had driven that thing for so long and I gotten so used to it that I just kind of figured that that's how it was. I mean, I knew it wasn't any Ferrari or anything, so I wasn't expecting a whole lot of greatness from it, but it got me around and I just figured, well, it's old, but it drives around and that's just how it is. But then when I started driving what cars supposed to feel like, and then I went back and tried driving my old station wagon for a bit, I was like, oh my God, like, wow, this thing drives like shit. So I don't know if I'm still going to keep that old wagon or not. I gotta admit, I do kind of like the car still, but I'm just not sure if I'm able to commit to what it needs mechanically and everything. And plus, because I have a little announcement here to make, this is going to be happening, guys, very, very, very soon, before you know it. Basically, one thing led to another, and this right here just makes the most sense right now, at least at this point in my life. And plus, because I want to do this, I'd been wanting to do this since years ago, all the years back that you guys can watch on my channel, all those old videos that I used to do in RVs. It's just something that I wanted to do. I wanted to get out there. I wanted to explore. So that's finally going to happen. And with having also a mobile job as well as a mobile home, it's going to be a totally new experience for me because I'm going to be able to basically live and work wherever I want on my own schedule. And drive a new car. It's just, it became a no-brainer for me. My life had gotten to a point where I had to seriously evaluate everything and what I was doing to myself and what I was doing to that old car and just everything that was happening all at once at that moment in time. Basically, I had to decide to think outside of the box, so to speak. Yeah, that's what it came down to. And so now I've got this mobile job and soon a mobile home. And so that's that. Something I've been asked from time to time is, why don't you do both at the same time? Have the warehouse job and do Uber. The problem with that is, after working on my feet all day, stacking pallets and moving boxes here and there all over the warehouse and running around, by the time I get on the freeway, just going home, like, I'm already tired. But I actually did try. I would go home, or almost go home, and I would go to Starbucks or something, and I would get like a double shot espresso, and I would push myself to do at least a couple hours with Uber. But what I started finding out was it just started getting to a point where I was just basically too tired to drive, and I had to make a decision that I was pushing myself too hard, and I was not only putting myself in danger but my passengers in danger and whoever else around me on the road. I would get to a point where I'd just be like, okay, I'm too tired to drive right now. I'm gonna drop off this passenger and I'm gonna switch off. I'm gonna slide the little switch on Uber. I'm gonna go offline and I'm just gonna go home because I'm gonna be a danger on the road if I keep continuing doing this. So anyway, that's why I just couldn't do both at the same time. It was either I do one or I do the other. And so when it came down to that, I had to kind of make a leap of faith and decide, okay, it's gonna be Uber. I gotta say, one of the main things that did it for me was when my cousin showed me his earnings report, and it was over $900. And I had just gotten paid at my warehouse job earlier that day, and it was for about $900 as well. And that was including a bunch of overtime. I saw that and I was like, okay, you made this in 1 week. I made this in 2. Busting my ass, busting my old car, putting myself in danger, being in pain all day, every day. I had to ask myself, what are you doing? And so that was one of the main driving points for me to do this, to make the leap of faith, so to speak, to Uber. I just want to show you guys actual earnings reports here. This is my highest earnings week. It was largely in part due to my cousin's referral code, which actually boosted this Monday up to over $400, as you can see here. Coincidentally, and I didn't even plan this or anything, but it just so happens if you look up here in the corner, the earnings right here are 126, and that did not happen by any planning or by purpose or anything. But anyway, there's that, and there's a $250 bonus from the referral code. And there's also a $50 bonus as well. Uber likes to do promotions, they call them, where they tell you, okay, if you do 55 trips between Monday at 4 a.m. to the following Monday at 4 a.m. or something like that, you'll get $20, $50, $90, something like that. I was just using that as an example. The numbers can vary, or the time that they give you can vary. Sometimes they'll give you a whole week. Sometimes they'll give you like 2 or 3 days or something. But anyway, so I did one of those, and I got a $50 bonus. So that's $300 in bonuses right there for the day. And then the $126 that I pulled in on my own. That's before the Uber fee, by the way, but still $126. Which, by the way, the whole thing behind the 126, a lot of people ask me this too, is why 126 with network 126? It's just a personally significant number to me. These kind of things happen without trying to get into it or trying to sound weird or anything. It does happen, and these 126s do follow me from time to time in my personal daily life. Now, I'm giving you guys real numbers here. I'm not trying to like fluff anything up or anything. These are actual earnings for my first week that I first started Uber, with an unfamiliar car and an unfamiliar app and everything. But what happened is I got the first car initially on November 25th, which was on a Friday, which is what this Friday is here. And I started driving on that Friday. I did about 3 hours and 12 minutes online. I completed 8 trips, and I made $62.40. I would say that was pretty decent, especially for my first day. And I was driving a car that was unfamiliar to me, like to the point where, because I was so used to pressing the brakes so hard on my old car, almost down to the floor, where I get into this new car, I'd barely like tap on the brakes, and I was like, whoa. It was literally like that. It was that much of a shock. And so just everything about the car was different. The steering, the brakes, the accelerator, just everything, the buttons, where everything is, just everything was all just so different from what I was used to for so long. And then plus having a phone plastered up on my windshield with this app I've never used before, telling me to do things and whatnot that I've never heard before. And I'm like, okay, let me, I hit the brake too hard. Hold on, wait, let me, what's this telling me? It was kind of that thing, and yet I managed to still do okay, which I thought was pretty good. The following Saturday, I did a little bit better. I made $74.36. I spent 7 hours, 6 minutes online, and I completed 16 trips, as you'll see right there. But basically the point is, it just made more sense, and it showed that it was worth it, and it got me off the road from a really dangerous car that was starting to become both a death trap and a money pit. And not only that, but it's gotten me out exploring, seeing new places that I've never been before. In my childhood, I never really got to get out much. I wasn't really exposed getting out on the freeways and going to this city and going to that city, and a lot of times I wouldn't even know where I was anymore while I'm out Ubering, because I'm so used to just following the GPS the whole time, turn left here, turn right there, get off on this exit, get on the freeway back over here, and do this, do that. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I don't even know where I am anymore. Like, let me see, looking at the map, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm in Hollywood. That actually happened one time. I didn't know where I was, and I'm like, where am I? Oh, I'm in Hollywood. Of all places. Like, who would have known? It's just like that kind of thing. Like, I don't even recognize where I am a lot of times, because I never been a lot of places. And so, like, for the first time being as an adult to all these places, it's exciting, it's a shock, and it's all good. I never got to do any of this stuff at my warehouse job. I was just seeing the same warehouse and the same everything all day, every day. And now I get to get out. I get to see this. I get to see that. I get to drive around like up in like Beverly Hills and explore like where movie stars live. You know, things that I never would have been exposed to before. And it's great. It's awesome. And you guys should sign up to drive. That's another thing too before I wrap this video up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another video after this one, and it's going to be like what I'm doing as far as my whole Uber experience and everything. And because Uber actually recognizes me as a top rated driver, I'm going to share with you guys everything I've been doing and like everything that I have that I carry with me and all that kind of fun stuff. So stay tuned for that one. So before I wrap this video up, if I've convinced you to drive, if I've convinced you to start looking into it, if I've convinced you to leave your current job possibly, or maybe do it on the side if you don't have a physically strenuous job as I had in the warehouse. But anyway, guys, there you go. There is my referral code. It's also going to be down in the info below. If you'll just look, I'll have everything down there that you'll need. Oh, and by the way, guys, Uber's referral system works both ways. I'm not the only one making money out of this. You're also getting a cut out of this as well. At the time of filming this video right now, I will get 500 out of it and you will get 250. So guys, what do you think about that? Leave your comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you're just as excited about this as I am. And I will see you in my next